Welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic Wednesday show. This is episode 257. We've got a great guest joining us. But before that, I'm going to let my co-host introduce herself. Would you like to introduce yourself, Kim?
Absolutely. I'm Kim Shivler, the latest co-host for WP-Tonic, also a WordPress instructor and instructional design consultant.
The co-host, I would say. She's even got a cat paw, folks.
That's right.
Keeps me in place. Like to quickly introduce yourself, David?
Sure. I guess it's easier for me to pronounce my name. So my name is David Hehenberger, from Austria, therefore the slightly difficult to pronounce name. And I'm the founder of FatCatApps. That's a WordPress plugin company, and LandingCube. It's a software as a service business that helps Amazon sellers create landing pages, which that product is also built on top of WordPress. Actually, it's not a WordPress plugin, but so everything I do really revolves around the WordPress ecosystem.
That's great, David. Before we go into the interview, folks, I've got to talk about our major sponsor, which is Kinsta Hosting. We moved the WP-Tonic website to Kinsta about 3 months ago. Brian Jackson is part of the Kinsta family, director of marketing. And we've just been amazingly happy with Kinsta, with the migration and the quality of hosting. And they, like I say, have become a major sponsor of the WP-Tonic show. There'll be a full set of show notes of this great interview with David, and there will be links to Kinsta. They are affiliate links, but if you do use one of those links and also purchase one of the great hosting plans from Kinsta, you'll be helping the show out considerably. So, and I've been totally blown away with the quality of service that I've got from Kinsta. So back to the interview. So, you came on the show in the early days, actually, and we've had a couple of discussions as well, haven't we, David? And I've watched your progress, and you've done some amazing things in the WordPress area. So what are the plans for FatCats? I think you've recently had some new plugins in your library. Would you like to delve in what you've been up to in the past year?
Sure. So I think last time I was on the show, we probably had two major plugins, and we've now grown that number to 5. So the idea being that that's a good way to scale the business, right? Is to just scale the number of products. The most recent ones we've added a plugin called Landing Page Cat. And by the way, all our plugins are freemium, so we've got very good functional free versions that we give away for free. And the business model is that like a small number of free users, they might want to have some extra features, which is what we offer in the paid version. Then they buy the paid version, and that helps us to fund development for both the free and the paid plugin. So that's how the business model works. And the new ones we've added over the last year and a half is Landing Page Cat. So it's a very, very simple landing page builder. So there's like no drag and drop, not a lot of fancy templates or anything. It's just a really simple landing page builder where if you want to have a headline, a sub-headline, a nice looking background image, email provider integration, it's a great tool to do that. You can use it for a simple coming soon page or something like that. We've also added a product called PixelCat. That's a Facebook pixel plugin. That one's a bit more complicated to explain, but basically if you run Facebook ads or if you want to Facebook retargeting, you can use the Facebook pixel to track conversions and to create those retargeting audiences. So retargeting audience basically is when somebody goes to your site and maybe they view a product, but then they don't buy. And then you can show them an ad in Facebook based on that, trying to get them back to your site and complete the purchase. So PixelCat lets you do that. And we've got a plugin called QuizCat where you can build viral quizzes similar to what you might have seen on BuzzFeed or similar sites, like which Star Wars character are you, those kind of things. And those things are great because they get a lot of viral traffic, very easy to share on Facebook. It's also a great way to capture email addresses. So yeah, those are the three like main plugin initiatives over the last year and a half. So as you can see, we've been very busy. I think one of the biggest game changers for the business really was I hired a really, really good full-time developer from the US, and he's just been doing amazing work cranking out all this stuff.
So, one of the things comes to mind as you were describing this activity, David, is that you already got to quite large established plugins. How did you make the decision that you weren't going to add more functionality and really focus on what you already got? Or maybe you're doing both. And is that linked to hiring this developer full-time in the US? Has this given you the scope to keep developing your existing plugins plus these new ones?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are definitely continuing to not only maintain, but really add new stuff to the existing products. Or this product, Easy Pricing Tables, it's been around for a while. I think like released the free plugin more than 4 years ago. That one's probably going to have a massive like overhaul, rewrite from scratch kind of thing coming its way with a lot more features and a lot more stuff. But yeah, it's like always kind of it's a hard. I think it's always a hard decision to make. I figured with the pricing table plugin in particular, like it's doing very well, but it is the market-leading pricing table plugin in the WordPress space, which is a small niche, but it's a decent niche. So from there, it just seemed that there's probably more upside by adding extra stuff, if that makes sense. But you're making a good point, which is I think we're getting to this point now where I think we probably need to scale our development team just to make sure, because now we've got a large number of products and we just want to make sure that all of the products continue to be well maintained, continue to get new features, and getting to a point where we're running a bit thin on development resources. So I think that's going to be a big initiative for us in the next couple of months.
And what led you into these three new areas? The landing page, the quiz builder, and the Facebook pixel builder. What led you to into those specific areas?
Mm-hmm. So the quiz plugin was actually the idea of Ryan, my lead developer from the US. So he was building some website for a client of his, and I think they were in need of something like that, and they had a difficult time finding a nice, easy to use quiz plugin. It was for a membership site they had where they wanted to do a test if people, basically learned what they were supposed to learn. So that's how we got that idea. The landing, honestly, I don't even remember. So we released a couple of free plugins as well over the last year that I didn't mention that just didn't get a lot of traction. So
is that part of your business development? Is that you get an idea, you push it out, a first beta that's free, and then you actually test the market in reality with the free. Is that part of your business development plan, basically?
Yeah, exactly. So I think, and we're not doing this right now because, as I said, we're just like so busy maintaining the existing stuff. But last year, when we decided, or I guess I'd rather say it was 2016, late 2016, so a bit more than a year ago, and we decided to really make a new push to release more plugins. We just like brainstormed a bunch of ideas based on stuff that we would like to see, stuff we would like to use, mostly also just doing a little bit of general market research, like looking at areas where there are plugins with a lot of traction, but maybe they're like very difficult to use. Like that's in particular what happened with the Facebook Pixel plugin, where there's some very good tools out there, but they were just very complicated. And if you're not an expert, it's just very hard to use. So those are the areas we like to look at. And then I think we launched maybe like 5 or 6 free plugins over the last year and a half. And I think half of those now made it into what I call flagship products with paid versions, and they're continuously being maintained and improved. And the other 3 are probably not going anywhere.
Right. Because that's fascinating. Because you've been in this market segment of the Premier plugin, free plugin sector now for almost 5 years. And what I think you're saying to me, David, is even with all your experience and your team's experience, you still it's still really hard to judge what's going to really fly and what isn't really.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying, really, isn't it, David?
Yep, absolutely. And I think it's something that in retrospect, I'll honestly admit that there was definitely some luck involved with easy pricing tables. That was my first WordPress plugin, and that just worked out really well. And I think it just turns out that it's hard, or at least for us, it's turned out that there is there's quite a bit of uncertainty every time we launch something new, and it's a matter of throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks, instead of trying to force something that might be very much an uphill battle.
With your quiz, you're up against a very determined competitor, from Fry Frames, Shane, because they've got a quiz building thing. Was that encouragement, or was that a factor that you had to think about before you entered that particular sector?
So I think Thrive Themes actually launched their quiz after we did.
Terrible people.
That's fine, no problem. I think there's a market for multiple solutions. I think the market is big enough. I think they have a slightly different business model than we have as well. I don't think it's an issue.
No, you're always going to get competition, aren't you?
Exactly.
Actually, if you didn't get competition, that'd be a sign maybe there wasn't a market for that particular project to start off with. Gutenberg, I don't know how you think this is going to affect your business and your plugin business at all. I don't know if you've been following the discussions, the endless discussions in the WordPress community about this. What's your feeling about how it's going to affect your business, and do you see it as a threat or a great opportunity for your own business?
So I haven't followed super closely these last couple of weeks, but I think generally it's something good, not just for the WordPress space in general, really. I think it needs to happen. I think the other solutions out there like Squarespace or, those kind of competitors, I think they're just very easy to use, and that definitely gives them a bit of a leg up versus WordPress. So I think it's really good that WordPress is trying to make some headway on the user experience front and building this new editor. So I think that's really great. And
well, it's more than an editor, isn't it, David? It's become quite clear with the presentation that Mac did at WordPress USA that this is going to be a total restart of WordPress in a way. The ambition of this project is much bigger than just editor, isn't it, David?
Yeah. And I think that's great. I think, even just using the WP admin, it's okay. It's not bad, but definitely it's not very 2018, right? It's kind of 2000, 2007 kind of thing. So I think that's great. And I think at the end of the day, being a company in the WordPress space, anything that's good for WordPress probably going to be in some form or another being good for us. But I think it's most likely going to be an opportunity, making sure our plugins integrate really nicely with Gutenberg, as opposed to, maybe some competitors are not going to execute on this properly or whatever. So I see this as an opportunity. I'm kind of excited about it.
So obviously it's changing quite rapidly. I think a lot of people at WordCamp US were surprised by the progress of the development. And so, but that makes it quite difficult for people like you, because it's really difficult to test something that's rapidly changing. So have you discussed it internally, how you're going to cope with this? And have you worked out any, when it finally looks like it's going to be released in public and you've got that first public product, how have you got any plans how you're going to cope with it?
So we've been talking about it, and nothing concrete yet, but we're just following development. And like one of the things is we started to look into it quite a bit back in, I think, September of last year, and it just seemed that at that point they were still very far from being able to actually. I think they actually changed. I don't know. They got rid of React, and then I don't know if they added it back or not. But
it's coming in and out, back and gone.
So we've basically punted on this whole decision, and we figured we'll just wait until we're a bit closer to this actually releasing, because there's a huge opportunity cost of us, spending possibly weeks or whatever, like integrating with it, and then they change it again. So make sure that, make sure to use our time wisely.
Well, in a way, do you kind of obviously you got your WordPress competitors in all the areas that you compete in, but do you see as your competitors much broader, that some of your more bigger competitors are really outside the WordPress ecosystem anyway?
Yeah, for sure. And I guess in some ways it's a drawback of having a WordPress business. I think especially with our quiz product, QuizCat, we've had a number of people that actually bought it by accident, and then they were like using Shopify or something. They had to get a refund. So I think it's kind of interesting to think about there as well. It's like, how could it possibly be a solution that's maybe a little bit less integrated with WordPress, and how could that work? I don't have any plans to move in that direction, but it's definitely a possibility.
Well, you have a little bit, because you've got this product, this really fascinating product, Landing Cube. Can you, before we go for a break and I let my co-host take over, can you tell us a bit about Landing Cube and what led to that? Sure.
So it's a separate brand from FatCatApps, because, like, honestly, it's a separate target audience, really. So it's a landing page builder for Amazon sellers. The idea being that it's like Amazon, like if you sell on Amazon, there's a lot of money to be made, but it's also hyper competitive. And the only traffic that most sellers get is traffic from inside of Amazon's, search engine. So if you're launching a new product, a really good way to get an edge is to try to drive some external traffic. So that might be, maybe you set up some Facebook ads, some Google AdWords, maybe you get some sponsored posts on a blog or something like that. And instead of sending the traffic straight to Amazon, you can send it to a landing page where, in exchange for a coupon code or something like that, you can capture an email address, and then you give them the coupon and send them on to Amazon. And now you can actually build a customer list, which is something you cannot do as an Amazon seller otherwise, because Amazon doesn't give you the data. And the way that Amazon's ranking algorithm works is the more sales you make, the higher you rank. So now that you're driving this traffic and giving coupon codes, which helps with conversions, you're going to end up ranking higher. I guess you're probably wondering how I came up with that idea for that product.
Yeah, sure, David. Right.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just like I've got a lot of friends that are in the Amazon space, and my brother's an Amazon seller, and I don't know if I talked to you about this, but I also built and sold a Amazon seller analytics app over the last 2 years, year and a half. So I sold it at some point last year. So I just understand the space pretty well, and that's why it seemed like an opportunity. Also, being able to build this on top of WordPress was one of the factors, because it's just so difficult to build a SaaS in general. And
tell me.
yeah. And it's not easy with WordPress either. But there's just all this stuff you can use, right? Like user management, and we actually use Paid Members Pro for our billing instead of having to write our own code, and a bunch of things like that just expedite the development process.
That's great. I think we're going to go for our break, folks. When we come back, Kim, my co-host, is going to ask some more questions of our great guest, David from FatCatApps. And we'll be back in a few moments, folks. We're coming back. We've had a fantastic conversation, broad, but fast-paced. I think you would agree with that, David. Kim, like to take over and ask David some more questions?
Absolutely. Thank you. First, it was really funny. I have to admit, I didn't know who you were initially when Jonathan sent me the link. And I looked it up this morning and I thought that is so cool because I just installed Opt-in Cat on a client site this weekend.
Awesome.
So, and anything with cats in it is all for me, definitely. Now, I did have more questions on Landing Cube. That was one, when I first took a look at it, I thought, okay, it's another competitor to Lead Pages or something like that. But obviously, with the link to an Amazon seller, it's much deeper than that. Now, this is just to clarify my understanding. It's just for people who are Amazon sellers in that they have their own product that they're selling, like a FBA, Fulfilled by Amazon, something like that, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And would they have to be using the Fulfilled by Amazon, or could it be a sale that they were doing their own fulfillment?
Yeah, they can also do FBM, which is they fulfill and ship their own packages.
Okay.
Kind of interesting that you brought up Lead Pages, because I think especially when I don't talk to Amazon sellers about Landing Cube, everybody is like, oh, like Lead Pages, Landing Pages, really competitive. Mm-hmm. And true, it's just it's a completely different approach. It has a lot less features than Lead Pages. It's much simpler. Right now, there's only one landing page template, and it's very much purpose built for, this one use case where they are gonna copy and paste the product URL from Amazon in, and then it automatically generates the landing page. And we've got this tight integration with Amazon where they can deliver these specific coupon codes, which is something you cannot do with Lead Pages or any kind of general purpose landing page builder. So it's very much it's a very small niche, a very specific use case where using something like Lead Pages would just be a lot more complicated and wouldn't really make sense.
Excellent. Yeah, like as I said, when you started talking about it, as I started digging into it, I realized it was something completely different and very unique. I've never done Amazon selling, but I listen to a lot of business podcasts, small business podcasts, side hustle podcasts, and a lot of them cover selling on Amazon. So I think there's a good market there. Are you the only one in that space doing this for Amazon?
I think there's actually WordPress plugin and maybe what I would call probably two major competitors. So they also do landing pages.
So there are.
Yeah.
Okay. And how then because there is competition, how are you actually getting, other than the people you already know, what is your strategy for reaching new customers on this software as a service product?
Yep. So again, I think as we talked earlier, generally having competition is a good thing, because if there's nobody else doing this, maybe you're first to market, which is great, or maybe there's just not much demand. So generally I see it as a good thing. In terms of differentiating, we just really focus on user experience and design, which the other tools in the space, they're great tools, honestly, but it definitely shows that they're built by Amazon sellers, which in some ways gives them an advantage, but also those guys don't necessarily know how to make software that's easy and simple to use. So I think that gives us an edge. In terms of marketing, we just really try to create a lot of really good content. So mostly focused on content marketing right now. We have like an 8,000 word guide that outlines this whole process of, how to drive traffic to your Amazon listing, doing weekly posts right now, I think bi-weekly guest posts or whatever. So we're just really focused on providing good content that both pulls customers in, through long tail SEO or whatever, but also helps our customers and users actually use the product more successfully.
And since, the reason I'm asking about the marketing so much is it's, as you mentioned, a completely different market than your just WordPress plugin market. So all of a sudden you're very established in this one area, and now you're going into something completely new, which has opportunity options and also risk, right? When you're trying to get that somebody you haven't been in front of before. So along those lines, as you've gone into that, is it the same? Do you have your same teams, or have you built different teams so that they can focus just on what they need to do?
So same team. So that's part of the reason we use WordPress, because we are proficient there. And I think honestly, definitely gives us a bit of an edge that I can, I've got like 2 great team members that are running support for FatCatApps. Awesome guys. And now they are also helping dealing with support on LandingCube instead of me having to hire a new person separately. It's going to ramp up expenses. So I think there's a lot of cost efficiency by using the same team.
Excellent. And then just one more, because I know we've got to wrap up here in a few minutes before our bonus content. Is adding now having a new API to have to play with and keep up with the terms of service, et cetera, on Amazon? Because I noticed looking on your page, you're very specific that you are in compliance with all of their terms and rules, et cetera. What does that add to overhead as you add something completely new and different?
Right. That's a great question. So technically, we don't actually use an API from Amazon right now. We might add some more features in the future where we do integrate with their API. Right now, we don't. So that's at least like one thing that simplifies it. I think like right now, it's not that much of an issue because if nothing else, I'm just surrounded by Amazon sellers. Like I said, a lot of friends, like a lot of people on my Facebook feed are Amazon sellers. And then of course I got customer support, constantly in touch with customers. I got a marketing guy who's, at least for the time being, exclusively on LandingCube, who used to work in an Amazon business for the last year as well. So he really deeply understands the space. So yeah, I think that's one thing I'm trying to build up in general is like more systems and processes. And I think like having like all these people lets me kind of, like I don't have to stay on top of everything myself because there's enough people involved, if that makes sense.
Yes, that's exciting. I think it's exciting to see this and this new market, and I'll be following along to maybe I'll become an Amazon seller.
Yeah. So, and in some ways it would have been much easier to just do another WordPress plugin and possibly more profitable. It's still early days for LandingCube, so hard to say, but I kind of like the idea of building a software as a service app versus just plugins, having something outside of the WordPress space, as much as I love and believe in WordPress, but it's good to like not be completely dependent on that market. But also it's just interesting to do something new and, like you said, like I have to figure out completely different marketing channels and all this kind of stuff. It's kind of a challenge, but in a good way.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Jonathan?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I thought it would be an interesting area to put forward to our listeners and viewers is that you're utilizing WordPress technology, but in a totally separate sector, which, I think with the changes in WordPress myself, David, a lot more entrepreneurs will be doing, which is great, isn't it? I think that's great news for everybody in the WordPress community. I think we're going to wrap it up for the podcast part of the show, folks. Hopefully David will agree to continue the discussion, which you'll be able to see on the website and on our YouTube channel. Like I say, we're going to have a full set of show notes and a transcription of the interview available for you. So, David, how can people find out more about what you're up to and some of your thoughts and some of the topics that we've discussed in this discussion? Sure. So obviously the websites FatCatApps.com and LandingCube.com. And if you just have any questions or any comments or want to say hi, you can also email me at david@fatcatapps.com. That's great, David. And David's very approachable. Obviously, he's a very busy guy, so I don't expect a reply straight away. But I think you do your best on it. I'll reply, but it's like I can't guarantee. If you want a fast response time, we've got customer support. But if you email me personally, it might take a couple of days. Yeah, sure. And Kim, how can people find out more about what you're doing, what your latest activities are, Kim?
They can find all of my programs at kimshivler.com or reach me on Twitter at kimshivler. And folks, the Friday show, we do a Friday show which is about WordPress, and we have a great panel, and we're looking for special guests who have a product, a
plugin. They're doing a presentation at a WordCamp. And if you want to join us on the Friday show in the second half, or you'll be on the show for the whole episode, but there'll be a special section where we ask you questions and that. On the WP-Tonic website, on all the on upcoming shows, which is in the footer area, there's a special page that lists all the Friday shows this month, and a form which you can fill in, and you can come on WP-Tonic on the Friday show. That's cool, isn't it? So go to that. Maybe even David will be. I don't know. That's great. And if you really feel really supportive of the show, please go to iTunes and leave us a review. It really does help the show. And I do periodically read out some of the comments, and I'll be trying to do more of that. So if you feel generous, please do that, folks. So I'm going to wrap it up for this episode. And like I said, join us for the Friday show. See you soon, folks. Bye. So, David, I think I might have got this wrong, but I'm sure you clarify me pretty quick. I think you've done some development, but through the whole process of building up FatCatApps, you haven't been an active developer. You've employed freelancers to help you. Has that... have you got any insights because that's probably going to surprise some of the listeners and viewers of the show, but I think it's a great strength as well, because it enables you just to focus on the business side of it. Have you got any insights about the process of hiring decent developers in your journey in general?
Yep. That's a great question, actually. I don't think it's easy. So I haven't found a secret answer yet, but one thing I've actually noticed is that everybody that works for me right now, so we've got 4 team members to support, 1 marketing, 1 developer, and like I said, possibly soon maybe a 2nd developer, but everybody that works for me right now, there has never been a formal hiring or application process. Like, I didn't go to the job site. What I did is, like, all these amazing people just ended up coming my way through my network. So this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, actually, is the value of having a great network. And this is something where, like you have a podcast or something like that, you go to conferences with like-minded people. That has worked out well for me. So yeah, like, that I know that it's not an easy piece of advice. So immediately have a great network and get all these developers sent your way. But it's definitely something that's valuable, is having a great network, I think. I'm gonna think other thoughts on hiring developers. One thing I haven't done, but one thing I've thought about is, if I really want to ramp up development, maybe hiring multiple developers, I would probably consider going to Eastern Europe, going in person to Eastern Europe for maybe Romania or Ukraine, one of those countries, for maybe a month or 2. There's a lot of really good talent there, which is also going to be more affordable than say US-based or Western Europe-based developers. So that could be interesting, is hitting the pavement, going to co-working spaces, going to developer meetups, possibly in those countries, or even locally wherever you live.
So in general, do you think there's still a lot of opportunities in the WordPress sector for entrepreneurs, or do you think it's getting a lot harder? Because I get a lot of mixed feeling and messaging from various people in that. What's your own feeling about it?
So I think there's definitely still opportunities, but it's not quite the same as it was 4 years ago when I was launching a pricing table plugin, and honestly I didn't really know what I was doing, but it was kind of the first good product, and somehow it got traction. There's just a lot more. I think that the ceiling or the bar is a lot higher. also
But where do you think that bar is? Would you like to explain a little? Sorry to interrupt, David. But where do you think that bar has what areas where that bar has increased?
Well, there's just more products. There's more plugins. There's better plugins. I think the secret is out that you can monetize your plugins with a freemium business model, which I think that also means that there is now, because of that, there's more and better products now, because people realized there is a way to make a living instead of just having to donate your entire, having to donate all of your time to maintain this free plugin that's never going to make money. So I think that results in just the products, there being more products and better products. There's also the plugin space in particular. The search algorithm and directory changed about a year ago, 9 months ago, and it's just harder for new products now to get traction. So if you have like 0 users and 0 reviews, it's going to be harder to rank for your keywords. But there's still obviously opportunities. I think like you can figure out the way to market the product. Maybe you want to do guest posts, or figure out another way to drive traffic to the free plugin first, and then so I think there's definitely opportunities. But yeah, I think the other thing that's interesting is there's always really good opportunities. It's just like, even with Amazon, like Amazon's getting very crowded now, or has been maybe for like the last year or so. And like a lot of people that I know got into it 3 years ago, and it just did really well. And now it's getting harder and harder. So I think there's always opportunities. And I do think WordPress is still an opportunity for sure. Like I wouldn't want to discourage anybody. I think there's still great opportunities. WordPress is growing. You mentioned Gutenberg. There's going to be massive changes. It's probably going to disrupt a couple of things. So I'm still very positive on the whole space. But I don't know how many new plugins I'm going to be launching in the future, since I've now got a base of established, popular, existing products. Need to maintain those, improve those, market those. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, but let's take the landing page. People say, well, lead pages. Well, lead pages is shown a little bit of unlove, really, because obviously they took over, and you're part of this whole startup community, and you've always been a very involved member. Obviously they bought Drip, didn't they? And a lot of their focus has been around the integration of Drip with lead pages, where you look at some of the UX design of lead pages, and you want to do like set up a lead magnet inside the actual process is not that intuitive. Right. And I've noticed that some of the other products, the leading, I forgot the name of the company, the leading WordPress landing page system, that hasn't been updated for quite a while. And some of the other like Insta pages and some of the other products, they've increased their prices quite considerably, haven't they? So I think there's a lot of opportunities in the landing page area, where if you mention that in general to people, people generally think it's a very crowded area, where I don't actually think it is, actually. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think especially, like you said, we're now seeing a couple of tools, like Instapages. I haven't used it, but they have good marketing. Somehow I always end up on the website. There's some good content.
Well, it's a good product, but they tripled the price, the base product, from around $29 to $79 a month.
Yeah, so that's interesting. And I think especially niche use cases, like that's why I don't have a general purpose landing page builder. I've got the really simple WordPress plugin where really, like, the value proposition is really that it doesn't do that much. And then the Amazon landing page tool, which is just very tightly focused on the Amazon niche. So I think those kind of things definitely an opportunity. Like I wouldn't want to go out and build, a lead pages competitor from scratch. That's not going to be a winning idea, I think, at this point.
Unless you got considerable marketing budget and considerable amount of time,
if you have
prepared to do that.
If you have massive resources, like maybe you're venture funded or something like that, that could be interesting. But if you're bootstrapping it by your own, it's going to be hard.
Right, I think we'll wrap it up, David. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I've really enjoyed the interview.
Yeah, same here. Thanks so much for
I think
having me.
we covered a lot of stuff in about 40 minutes, but that's great. And I think we've given some great insights to our listeners and viewers. And like I say, folks, if you're watching this, we do 2 episodes per week. Yes, I'm bonkers. But with the help of my great co-host, that helps an enormous amount. So hopefully you'll join us on the next Wednesday show or the Friday roundtable show. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Awesome. Also nice meeting you, Kim.
Nice to meet you.